Hey everyone, welcome back to Gaming Gig. Today we're going to be talking about The Midnight Walk. This is a game that immediately caught my attention because it's basically created out of real clay. What they've done is they created over 700 models out of clay, then they scanned them in and then used those models and animated them to create this video game. And the studio behind this is Moonhood. Now, this is technically their first game as Moonhood, but these are developers that have previously worked on a lot of other games, including the EA published game Lost in Random. Another intriguing thing about The Midnight Walk is that it can be played both normally or in VR. You can even swap back and forth at any time if you want. And I'll be straight up, I really like this game. I think it's really cool and really interesting, but I know that it has a lot of flaws. Well, not necessarily flaws, but there's definitely some stuff about it that I think won't gel with everyone. And I think because of that, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I think that's something that pretty much everyone can get behind is the aesthetic. Like I mentioned, they made this stuff out of clay. And because of that, it really has a realistic, not like, photorealistic, but it has a very real, grounded, earthy look to it. And I think it's a really interesting aesthetic that almost no other game has. Obviously, there are some other games who try to go for that clay stop motion thing. But this game takes it a step further by not just modeling these in a computer program. This is real life clay models that they scan in and then animate in a stop motion style. And I think it really pays off. It creates an environment and ambiance that I'm not used to seeing in a video game. It reminds me much more of like a claymation movie. And it just feels so cool to have that same exact style in a video game. And although the visuals are probably the most striking thing, the thing that most people are going to notice, this game also has some really good music that complements it really, really well. I am a musician and I love music, but to be honest, I often just kind of ignore the music in video games. I'm not exactly sure why, but I always like to take note when the music of a game actually stands out to me and I really enjoy it, because it's kind of a rare occurrence, and this game absolutely did that. Even beyond the music though, there's just some really interesting audio design. The game encourages you to wear headphones if at all possible because there's binaural audio, and that binaural audio is used to solve some of the puzzles. So it's obvious that they've taken a lot of care and effort to make sure that the audio experience, whether that be the music or the sound effects, are really top notch. Another interesting aspect to this is the game's story. It kind of has multiple stories and also an overarching story. The overarching story is that you are accompanied by a little lantern creature, a cute little thing called Pot Boy, and you have to protect his flame that he has. And you also are trying to take him to the top of this mountain so that you can bring light or bring fire back to this world that has been, for at least some time now, plunged into darkness. So kind of like if you've played the game Journey, you know that you're always traveling towards the mountain out in the distance, and it's sort of the same idea in this game. But along the way, the game is divided into chapters, and each chapter sort of has its own subplot, and these sub-stories kind of deal with various characters that you run across throughout your adventure. They're all kind of tragic and dark, but they are pretty good. I think they were all really interesting. When you put all the stories together, all the side stuff and the main overarching story, I just found it to be a really compelling, interesting, artistic story. The developers behind this game obviously had a vision, and they went for that vision. They could describe the game as a cozy horror game. There are some horror stealth elements, but overall, the gameplay I would describe more as exploration and puzzles. Really, the main thing you're doing is you're bringing fire back to this world. So most of the puzzles include lighting candles. You can command Potboy around and make him light candles for you, or you can do it yourself. You even eventually get a gun that shoots matchsticks, and that can be used to light candles. Basically, you get the idea here. You're lighting a bunch of candles or lighting fires and stuff like that. You're bringing fire back to this world, and most of the puzzles are kind of like you're exploring around, looking for what to light, while avoiding the enemies, and that's where more of the horror stealth elements come in. You have to be very strategic and only move around when you know there are no monsters that can see you. You can also do things like distract monsters with light because they don't like it and they want to put it out. It's just some pretty straightforward stealth and puzzles. If you really like exploring, scattered about are some optional collectibles. I did look for some of them, but I didn't really go out of my way to find all of them. Sometimes things are hidden, and one of the more unique features of the gameplay is that there are often times when the game asks you to close your eyes. Now, if you're playing normally with a controller, there's just a button you press and it kind of makes the screen go black. And when you do that, you can hear things that are hidden. And that's where that binaural audio kind of comes into play. Now, if you're playing in VR, at least with the PlayStation VR 2, you can actually just physically close your eyes, and then the game is able to sense and know that your eyes are closed, and then it kicks in the ability to use that binaural audio to hear hidden objects. Now, I think it's really cool that you can play this game either normally or in VR, so I kind of went back and forth. I actually spent most of the time playing it normally, but I did spend a good amount of time also in VR, and I enjoyed both, but I was surprised at how different the experience was playing normally versus playing in VR. Obviously, in VR, the immersion was a lot better, and I really noticed it when looking at all the clay models in the game, because everything just seems so huge when you're in VR. I don't know why, but everything seems so big. And you got to get right up close and personal with those clay models, and you could see how they were sculpted and created. But there are also some downsides to playing the game in VR. By default, there's a really strong vignette that happens when you walk. And games will do this to try to help with motion sickness. Basically, as you move, it narrows down the field of view to be really small, puts these black borders all the way around you. I turn that off because I play a lot of VR games. I love VR, so it doesn't make me motion sick. And this was really, really strong. I think it was way too much. Also, the little matchlock gun that you have that you can shoot matchsticks with worked really well normally. It did not work well in VR. And that's kind of to be expected. Shooting in VR is almost always terrible. But overall, I actually really enjoyed the VR experience. But there are some things about this game that I did not like, or at least I know that other people will not like. And I think the main complaint that people will have, and the main complaint I have about this game, is that the actual moment-to-moment gameplay just isn't all that interesting. All the puzzles are super simple. It basically just equates to finding all the candles and then lighting them one way or another. You know, if you like intense stealth, well, this game doesn't really have that either. It has stealth, but all the stealth sections are pretty easy and very forgiving. There just isn't a whole lot here gameplay-wise that was really outstanding. And then another big complaint that I know a lot of people will have against this game is that it's just very short. I've seen some people say that it took them about 8 hours to finish the game, and that's quite short, but for me, it actually took quite a bit less. I was able to finish this game in just about 4 hours. And because of the type of game it is, it doesn't really have all that much replay value. Now, it is beautiful and it's really interesting, and in VR I could see myself wanting to revisit it just to see the world, but I don't really know that I'm going to go back and replay it, even though I really liked it. Then I know that someone who doesn't enjoy it as much as me is probably going to be pretty angry that they paid for a game that maybe only lasted them 4 hours. But here's the thing, this really is a beautiful game. It has such interesting production and artistic vision. And if you appreciate those elements of a video game, you may be like me. You may find that this to be a worthwhile experience, even though it's short. If you just want your video game to be made with passion and love, this is that kind of game. You can tell they didn't make this because they wanted a cash grab. They made this game because they wanted to make a game out of clay, and they had the vision and they just went for it. But if you come to games for the fun factor because you want to have a fun time, I don't know if this game's the one for you. It's not that the gameplay is unfun. I mean, it's serviceable, but that's not really why you go into this game. It's all about the experience. All I can say is that personally, I really liked it. But I like artistic games. I like VR games. I like horror games. It kind of all worked for me, but I totally get that this just isn't going to be for everybody. And on that note, I want to know what you think. What do you think about the Midnight Walk? If you've played it, I'm really interested to see if you came out of it with a positive experience or if you felt that it was sort of a negative experience because it was short and the gameplay wasn't that great. Either way, just let me know. And if you haven't played this game, I want to know, are you more or less interested after watching this review? And if you're the type of person that likes to talk video games, I want to invite you to join the Gaming Gig Discord server because it's definitely going to be right up your alley. We chat about all kinds of stuff over there, mostly video games and video game news. The invite link is in the description of all my videos. And if you want to talk with me live about video games, I do stream with my buddy Daniel over on Twitch. We do that on Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. The link to that will also be in the description. And with that, I'll let you go. Hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll see you next time.